right, guys. Remember what we're looking for, and don't trust anyone.
Baby, where are your parents?
Really? A con baby? Impressive. We could use someone like you.
Raya and the Last Dragon arrived as an ambitious animated feature that expanded the scope of modern fantasy storytelling within animation, presenting a world inspired by Southeast Asian cultures while grounding its spectacle in an intimate emotional core. Set in the fictional land of Kumandra, the film builds a mythic past where humans and dragons once lived in harmony, united against a dark force that threatened to consume all life. This ancient cooperation, however, fractures over time as distrust and greed creep in, leaving the land divided and vulnerable. From its opening moments, the story establishes that this is not simply a tale of heroes and villains, but a reflection on how societies fall apart when fear replaces understanding, and how unity is often spoken about more easily than it is practiced. The narrative centers on Raya, a skilled warrior raised by her father to believe in the possibility of trust, even in a broken world. Her upbringing contrasts sharply with the reality around her, where the people of Kumandra are split into rival factions, each guarding their own piece of a powerful dragon gem. The gem, once whole, held back the Druun, a mindless force that turns living beings to stone and feeds on human discord. When a moment of misplaced trust leads to the gem's shattering, the Druun return, plunging the world back into chaos. This inciting tragedy reshapes Raya's life, transforming her from an optimistic guardian in training into a lone wanderer driven by guilt, loss, and determination. As years pass, Raya travels across the fractured lands, each region reflecting a different response to fear and survival. The environments are varied and symbolic, ranging from lush waterways to barren deserts, each shaped by the absence of dragons and the lingering threat of the Druun. Along the way, the film introduces a series of companions who initially seem mismatched but gradually form a found family. These characters are not united by blind loyalty, but by shared loss, each having suffered because of the world's divisions. Their interactions bring moments of humor and warmth, but also underline how difficult it is for people to trust again once they have been betrayed. Central to the story is Sisu, the Last Dragon, whose personality subverts traditional expectations of mythical creatures. Rather than presenting a stoic, all-powerful being, Sisu is awkward, hopeful, and deeply empathetic. She believes that trust is not something to be earned through tests or strength, but something that must be given first, even when it feels risky. This philosophy directly challenges Raya's hardened worldview, shaped by years of survival and regret. The tension between Raya's caution and Sisu's optimism becomes the emotional backbone of the film, driving both conflict and growth as they journey together. The film's antagonist is not framed as pure evil, but as another product of a divided world. Namaari, Raya's rival, mirrors many of Raya's qualities. She is skilled, driven, and burdened by expectations placed upon her by her people. Their conflict is deeply personal, rooted in a childhood encounter that shattered trust and set both characters on opposing paths. Rather than reducing this rivalry to simple good versus bad, the story uses it to explore how fear, loyalty, and misunderstanding can turn potential allies into enemies. Their repeated encounters emphasize how close the world is to healing, and how easily it slips back into destruction. Visually, the film stands out through its detailed world building and fluid action sequences. The animation balances epic set pieces with quiet, reflective moments, allowing emotional beats to resonate without being overshadowed by spectacle. Combat scenes are choreographed with a sense of weight and intention, reflecting Raya's training and the cultural influences woven into the movement. Meanwhile, the design of the Druun as an amorphous, creeping threat reinforces the idea that the true enemy is not a single individual, but the collective result of human mistrust and division. The emotional arc of the story steadily builds toward a conclusion that prioritizes vulnerability over victory. As the Druun threat intensifies and the world teeters on the brink of complete ruin, the characters are forced to confront their own fears and assumptions. Raya's journey is not about becoming stronger in combat, but about learning to open herself again after profound betrayal. The film suggests that unity cannot be forced through power or control, but must be chosen willingly, even when the outcome is uncertain. Themes of legacy and responsibility also play a significant role throughout the narrative. Raya carries the ideals of her father, who believed that the people of Kumandra could one day reunite. His influence lingers not as a flawless philosophy, but as a hopeful vision that Raya struggles to uphold in a harsh reality. Similarly, Sisu carries the memory of her dragon siblings, whose sacrifice saved the world once before. Their absence weighs heavily on her, yet fuels her belief that the same act of collective trust can happen again among humans. As the story approaches its climax, the lines between hero and rival blur, culminating in moments that demand selflessness rather than dominance. The resolution underscores the film's core message. Healing a broken world requires individuals to take the first step, even when trust feels undeserved. This choice is portrayed not as easy or guaranteed, but as necessary. The restoration of Kumandra is less about the return of dragons, and more about the restoration of human connection. Raya and the Last Dragon ultimately stands as a reflective fantasy that uses its animated form to address real-world ideas about division, fear, and reconciliation. It acknowledges the pain caused by betrayal while still advocating for hope as an active choice rather than a passive belief. Through its characters, world, and emotional stakes, the film argues that trust is both fragile and powerful, capable of destroying worlds when broken and saving them when restored. By the final moments, the journey feels less like the end of a quest and more like the beginning of a renewed understanding, leaving a lasting impression that resonates beyond its fantastical setting.